Well, good morning, everyone. Happy May. Welcome to Unity of Music City. We got a bunch of energy flying around the room, so let's focus some energy on singing a little bit. And let's start by singing, I'm going to sing. So let's all stand up. I'm going to sing about the love in my heart. I'm going to sing about the love in my heart. I'm going to sing about the love in my heart. I'm going to sing about love and give God the glory. I'm gonna walk and talk and sing and pray, connect to the Holy Spirit every day. I'm gonna walk and talk and sing and shout and give God the glory. I'm gonna sing about the joy about the joy in my heart. I'm gonna sing about the joy in my heart. I'm gonna sing about joy and give God the glory. I'm gonna walk and talk and sing and pray, connect to the Holy Spirit every day. I'm gonna walk and talk and sing and pray and give God the glory. Take it up. I'm gonna sing because I'm free at last. 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 I'm gonna walk and talk and sing and pray, connect to the Holy Spirit every day. I'm gonna walk and talk and sing and shout and give God the glory, and give God the glory, and give God the glory. Oh yeah, yes. All right, let's remain standing. Let's sing, surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Let's affirm it together. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel its mighty power and its grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel its mighty power and its grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord I can feel its mighty power and its grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. And it is. You may be seated. Thank you.
Good morning. Let's begin this portion of our service by taking a deep, centering breath. Today's centering statement is, "My intuition is a guide to spiritual understanding." For the spiritual being, intuition is far more than a hunch. It is perceived as divine guidance. It is called intuition because it is found by looking and tuning within. This inner insight is never taken lightly or ignored because it is teaching us from the inside out. When we take time to go within and tune in to our higher self, our intuition becomes clear and can teach us what is ours to know. And now please repeat these affirming statements after me. I am moving into alignment with my inner knowing. I am moving into alignment. I am open to receiving divine guidance. I am open to receiving divine guidance. I deepen my connection to Spirit, and I discover the unique ways it speaks to me. Deepen my connection to Spirit, and I discover the unique ways it speaks to me. And so it is.
Well, welcome to Music City, Unity of Music City, everyone. Happy May. This is the day, the 15th already. My goodness. Well, we try to be a place for authentic transformation. And today I'd like to do this about once a month. I want to read our vision, mission, and our purpose statement so that everyone here can remember it, and those who are new can know what we're all about. And this is what we're all about. Our vision is to remember the universal presence alive in each of us. Our mission is to create experiences for expanding consciousness and awakening infinite possibilities. And our purpose is to create a sacred space for authentic transformation. So welcome, everyone. And Nikki, do we have any announcements? A few.
Why, yes, we do, Ryan.
Why, yes, we do.
Announcements for today. Wednesday evening class through the end of June is Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown. It can be purchased at Amazon, and the class is facilitated by Deb Moore in workshop format with honest discussion and practical applications. See the weekly happenings email for the Zoom link, and the cost of the class is $10 per class. The Leadership Council meeting will be Tuesday, May 17th at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. Please see the weekly happenings or the website for the Zoom info. The prayer chaplains are available for your prayers. If you have a prayer concern that you would like the chaplains to be made aware of, you can email that prayer request to uofmcprayerrequest@gmail.com. There is also a prayer box at the back of the room to drop your prayer concerns in. Any and all prayer requests are welcome.
Oh, wow, cool. All right, it's time for the monthly mantra. We're having fun with this month because it's a song that everybody loves to sing, everybody loves the meaning, and today is a beautiful example of the second verse, and I'll read that to you. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright, blessed day, the dark, sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. So take a moment today just to walk outside, look at the sky and look at around you, and take a deep breath and say, thank you, God, for this awesome, awesome day. So let's stand up and sing it. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, the downs of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. I'll learn much more than I'll ever know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, yes. Thank you all. Please be seated.
Good morning. Today's affirmation, the one wisdom of the universe guides me. All together now. The one wisdom of the universe guides me. Mount Kilimanjaro, Niagara Falls, the Sahara Desert, the Rockies, the Nile River, the Amazon rainforest. In a spiritual belief of oneness, all of these very far away natural wonders are part of the singular life energy which animates each of us. Every lion in the Serengeti, every camel on the Arabian continent, every black bear in the Smoky Mountains is a cousin, another piece of the one creation of which we are all a part. And the same impulse that alerts a rabbit to a potential predator or compels a pod of dolphins to help a stranded swimmer back to the shore, or allows the eagle to survey the terrain from 1,000 feet in the air, is the same universal wisdom that lives in each one of us. If life is one and energy is one, then wisdom is one, and the one wisdom of the universe guides me.
So let's just take a moment, close our eyes, if you wish, or settle your gaze on the floor. Allow it to soften to where everything is fuzzy. And let's take a moment to breathe into the truth that we have equal access to the one wisdom of the universe. There is no one of us closer to it or farther away. And the reason why we emphasize stillness, why we take the time each Sunday for stillness, and hopefully individually take the time each day for stillness, is because it is in that stillness that the wisdom can speak to us. It is in that stillness that the answers that have been there all along have the opportunity to be heard, can make themselves known to us. So that whatever it is we are facing, whatever challenge life has presented to us in this moment, has an answer, has a wisdom approach. And the divine energy of the universe is just waiting for us to ask, to get still, and to listen. There is not an expression of life on this planet that has greater access to universal wisdom than you do. So in this moment, listen to it. I listen to universal wisdom in the silence. In the silence. The Divine Mother who gave life to us all, who sustains us, willingly and freely gives everything to her children. Everything that they need. And her greatest gift is the wisdom to know. The wisdom to move forward in our highest and best way. The wisdom to understand. This wisdom she gives to us freely, and we say thank you, Divine Mother. Thank you.
Oh, Mother God, thank you for this day, for the love that you wash over me, and this joy in my heart I will share with the world. Oh, Mother God, blessed be. Oh, Mother God, blessed be. Oh, Mother God, flowing through our hearts, we give thanks for the bread of our lives, for the hands in the earth, and the fruit of your womb. Oh, Mother God, blessed be. Oh, Mother God, blessed be. Oh, Mother God, thank you for this day, for the love that you wash over me, for this joy in my heart I will share with the world. Oh, Mother God, blessed be. Oh, Mother God, blessed be. Oh, Mother God, blessed be.
Good morning, everybody. How are you today? We're going to talk about intuition today, and all the while that I was preparing this talk, I kept hearing this voice saying, just follow your intuition. Don't stress it. Don't fret over it. So, of course, as you know, we're in a series of 7 talks that are going over each of our 7 belief statements that we as a spiritual community created. We've talked about how a direct relationship with universal presence, known by many names, is available to all. We've talked about how love, peace, and joy are our highest spiritual principles. We've talked about how inclusion is our expression of oneness. Last week, we talked about how inclusion is our expression of oneness. And I want to emphasize again today how that may be one of the most important community-based messages that we send out. And I want to take just a moment to say that our thoughts and our prayers and our hearts are with the people of Buffalo, New York. And as long as hate exists in this world, we will stand for love. And even beyond that, even when we eradicate it, we will stand for love. There is no room for that in our world. So inclusion is important. It is an important message. And sometimes this world is so challenging to work through that, by golly, we need our intuition. We need to hone our intuition, and we need to work with our intuition and tap in to the universal wisdom that is available to all of us. So today, we're focusing on our belief that intuition is a guide to our spiritual understanding. Notice that we did not say it is the guide to our spiritual understanding. But the reason why it is the guide that we mention in our belief statements is because intuition is probably the root of it, the beginning of all of the guides to our spiritual understanding. We can almost think of it as kind of a filter through which all other wisdom comes, all other information comes. We filter that through our own intuition to see how that feels to us, right? How that works for us. Now that's old school right there, right? Does anybody still know I love a compass. Love me a good compass. And as a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, I was hiking with a friend of mine. Hiking. Well, we were walking in the woods. They were going to call that hiking, okay? I was walking with a friend of mine. I said, I'd kind of like to get a compass. And she said, don't you have an iPhone? And I said, yes, as a matter of fact, I do. So a compass is kind of old school, but what we try to do, we need to work with our intuition in that kind of way, but a lot of times we want our intuition to become a little bit more like this, right? We'd like intuition that is a GPS that speaks to us, right? Don't you want the universe to say, Nikki, turn right, 100 feet ahead, right? It would be a really nice thing if we could get that. So we're going to talk about intuition a little bit today. We're going to deal with what it is and how we improve it, how we increase it, how we heighten our ability to work with it. So this is a definition. I saw something similar to this online, and then I kind of tweaked it a little bit. I think it's the best definition of intuition ever. When you don't know how you know, but you know, and that's all you need to know. Right? You don't know how you know, but you know that you know. And that is all you need to know. It's also a pretty good definition of faith, by the way. And intuition is an exercise of faith. That's what it is at its heart and soul. As an English professor, one of the things I like to do is go back to the etymology of words, because a lot of times there's wisdom. There's a reason why they've evolved in language the way that they've evolved. And so intuition, I like the way that it plays along with the word tuition. As a college professor, I know the word tuition really, really well. And tuition is kind of like that outside education that you get, where intuition is that inner knowing that you get. I think Ryan had written that in the opening statement, something about the inner teaching that comes through us, right? So what's interesting is intuition comes from the Latin intuere, meaning to consider. Tuition is very, very similar, but it's a little different. It comes from the Latin tuere, not intuere, but tuere, meaning to watch or to guard. And I think about how those of us at the academy are the guardians of knowledge, right? We guard over knowledge, and we watch as you accept it and take it in. But that intuition is a mind-opening opportunity to consider, right? Let's examine all of the complex possibilities that there could be. Now, intuition, sometimes folks are like, is that my intuition? I don't know. Have you ever followed something that felt like an intuitive impulse and you fell on your face? Have you ever done that? So was it intuition, or was it not was it ego? There's always that. Was it intuition or was it ego? What was talking to me? Sometimes it's intuition because the universe knows I needed to fall on my face right then, because that was where the lesson was. But there are three terms. There's a psychologist named, he's a psychologist, Francis P. Chole, I believe is how he says his name. He wrote a work called The Intuitive Compass, and he defines three different terms that are important to kind of look at distinctly. The first one is instinct, right? When you have an instinct towards something, it is an innate inclination toward a particular behavior. When sea turtles go back to the same beach every year to lay their eggs, that's an instinct. It is an innate internal inclination toward a particular behavior. And then sometimes we'll talk about a gut feeling. A gut feeling is a sensation that appears quickly in consciousness without us being fully aware of the underlying reasons for its occurrence. They can be very instructive. I don't know that they're completely intuitive. I just got a feeling. You ever walk into a room and you're like, oh, I need to leave this place right now. I just got a gut feeling. The energy in here is not swirling in my direction. And I'm going to leave. There's that gut feeling, that sensation that appears quickly. So if that's what those two are, what is intuition? Joel describes it as a process that gives us the ability to know something directly without analytical reasoning. Bridging the gap between the conscious and non-conscious parts of our mind and between instinct and reason. I love that bridging the gap idea, right? That is what intuition is. When I can quiet my mind and I can listen to my soul and listen to my heart and let that wisdom bubble up, and I am bridging that gap, and then I can make reasonable, logical moves with my life based on this wisdom. So I created my own little definition of intuition, or a statement about intuition. A healthy intuition exists when layers of ego are removed to allow the higher self to directly guide our way. It doesn't have to be translated. It doesn't have to come through a lot of different filters. It's when I've gotten myself out of the way enough to where that universal wisdom that already lives within me gets to directly guide me, not just drop hints on the surface or the periphery of my life. Instead, it is directly in charge of guiding me. There's another statement that I found online. It's been attributed to a couple of people, so I didn't attribute it to anyone, but it's not mine. Intuition is your soul whispering the truth to your heart and hoping that you hear. Right? Whispering the truth with a capital T to your heart and hoping that you hear. So last week, I gave you a quote from Albert Einstein. And I love Einstein. I know people want to, here's what's the kind of the common thing these days is that anybody who is well known, somebody's got the secret dirt on them, right? If somebody says, oh, I love Mother Teresa, oh, let me tell you what she was really like, right? Oh, I'm a big admirer of Gandhi. Oh, you have no idea what he was like, right? Let me tell you something. You have no idea what I'm like, right? You have no idea what any of us are like. But did someone come and have a positive impact on the world? Great. Dr. King, you have no idea what he was like. I know what he did. I know the impact that he left. So Einstein is one of my guys because he's a mind guy. He's an academic. But man, he's a soul guy. If you listen to his writings, he is a soul guy. And he had a lot to say about intuition. Here's a few of them. One of the things he says is, I believe in intuition and inspiration. I sometimes feel that I am right. I do not know that I am. Right? We've all probably experienced that, where I know that I'm right about, I feel I'm right about this in my soul. But I don't know, I could not draw a flow chart for you to show you the logical move from step A to step Z. But I know it's right. He also said the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Y'all didn't know that Einstein was a unity preacher, did you? That's sure what he sounds like right there. And so that's our work as a spiritual community, is to kind of hold back that tide of society that wants to say, oh, no, let's let the servant do the work here, and we're going to poo-poo, right? Your little spiritual woo-woo you got going on over there, we're going to poke holes in it all day long. Well, you just keep doing that, but we're going to keep honoring the sacred gift of our intuitive mind. The third thing he said is this: indeed, it is not intellect, but intuition which advances humanity. Intuition tells man his purpose in this life. I think many of us, I don't think I'm weird. Well, I know I am weird, but there's a very big laughter from over here. I think she related. I believe that I am weirdly like other people in this regard, in that a lot of my younger adult life was spent in this question of, what's my purpose? Why am I here? Right? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to be? I feel something stirring. Something is in there trying to get out. What is my purpose? And Einstein says the way to find that is through our intuitive processes, our intuitive self. So today, for a little while, we're going to go to Planet Intuition. Which is a judgment-free zone, by the way. So if any of you have ever been to Planet Fitness, and most of us have at least been members for 1 month of Planet Fitness, they have things like this on the wall. They also have a wall, a lot of them say no critics, right? And I love that. I love that messaging that they have. This is a judgment-free zone. You're here to do something good for yourself. You're here to do some exercise. And a lot of times we're there to lose something, right? Sometimes we're there to lose something. And that process of losing something is the process of getting in touch with our intuition, removing those layers of ego. So step 1 is to remove the layers of ego. It's the number one way to get in touch with our intuition, to start to hear it as one of the louder voices in our life, right? Not something trying to get our attention from 1,000 yards away. How do we remove the layers of ego? Well, there's lots of ways, right? There are lots of ways. One of them, step 1 for me, is this one: silence the inner critic. This is what my inner critic looks like, by the way. Right? I put that up there because I didn't think it would be appropriate to put my mother's picture up there. But sometimes our parents turn out to be the voice of our inner critic, don't they? They might not have even meant to. They didn't even mean to. But that's what we hear sometimes. So silencing the voice of our inner critic, now that can be years of work in and of itself. That's a big job. But one way to do it is to simply begin by recognizing it. When we begin to hear self-judgment and belittling, echoing words in our mind, to just simply stop and say, that's my inner critic. Separate yourself from it, if nothing else. Even if you can't silence it in that moment, that's not me, that's my inner critic speaking. And I'm going to keep calling you out and calling you out and calling you out until you sit down and be quiet. All right? I'm going to identify you, and I'm going to call you out, and I'm going to do the work. Whatever that work is, for some of us, it's therapy. For some of us, it's just spiritual transformation. For some of us, it's just slogging through incredible force of will, right? So silencing the inner critic is one way to remove the layers of ego. Another way is, of course, to meditate. Now, I know we talk about that a lot, and that is not some kind of like news flash for you. But that silence, getting ourselves into the silence, sometimes at first what happens is the inner critic becomes louder. The first couple of times that we get silent, the inner critic gets a little bit louder. But that's when it's louder, that's when we can notice it. That's when we can point it out. Thank you for making yourself known to me. Thank you for speaking up loudly, because I can call you out for what you are now, right? So going into that meditation in the silence and actively, you've all probably been here or seen when I've done this before. I almost brought my little box that has my little nesting boxes that has my selenite crystal on the inside when I talk about removing the layers of ego. Sometimes you can take something like that and make it a visual practice for you in meditation. To say, let me just take off layer after layer after layer. If it takes me 20 minutes to just remove layers, and then I think I've gotten there and I remember another layer, let me take that off. I can pick it up again when it's all said and done. but let me let go of it right now. Another way to remove layers of ego is to get away from busyness. So it's probably not a newsflash to you that if you're in downtown New York or downtown Nashville, that it's not very easy to see the stars. Sometimes we have to take ourselves out into the country to really see the stars. Even in this picture right here, if you'll notice, right along the bottom strip there where the sun is setting and there's the horizon, you don't see very many stars down there. But how many stars are in that section of the picture? Every bit as many as those, right? And just like those stars are always there whether we see them or not, the intuitive wisdom of the universe is always living in us whether we're activating it or not, whether we're hearing it or not, whether we're seeing it or not. So how do I remove myself from the busyness? You know, just last week was final exam week. And it was the week when, as final exam week in spring semester is an interesting week in higher education. Let me just put it that way. And there's something about, for those of us who teach fall and spring semesters, especially those folks who are taking the full summer off, that final exam week has this kind of the biggest you've ever felt in your life. And it takes me about 4 or 5 days. 4 or 5 days of just being out of it to finally feel like, you know what, I almost feel normal again. I almost feel like I can see the wisdom of the universe again, right? So getting away from busyness is a great way to remove the layers. Getting away from busyness, silencing the inner critic, meditating. Here's the second step to practicing our intuition, and that is to use experience as a doorway. Every experience that we have had or will have is a kind of doorway into our work with intuition, right? One way is to consult your body compass. Our body itself, I'm sure Valerie will tell you that, our body itself is a kind of compass that is pointing us in a direction. So every now and then, right, I got to tell you what's going on with me, all right? I'm just going to intuitively follow this. I got a thing happening in my ear. Don't know what it is. It's been known to me since February 4th, because that was the night of Nikki's concert at City Winery. And someone came up and hugged me, and when they hugged me, they grabbed my head and squeezed around my ear, and it felt like someone was poking an ice pick down into the center of my ear. I almost punched the guy, but I didn't. Instead, I just endured the pain, which right there sums up womanhood. Okay? I just endured the pain. And so I told Nikki afterwards, I said, something's going on with my ear. And it kept, right now, I can do this. I can feel the pain down in my ear. And I said, something's going on with my ear. And she said, you probably got an ear infection. Or I said, yeah, I probably do. She said, go to the doctor. I said, okay, I will. And a week later, she said, go to the doctor. And I said, okay, I will. And a week later, she said, go to the doctor. And so I finally went to the doctor, and the doctor looked in my ear and said, yep, you got an ear infection. And then put me on an antibiotic. And historically, I could look at an antibiotic, and everything clears up in my body, right? Just boom, like that. So it started to ease off a little bit, and then it came roaring back. So I went back to the doctor, and they said, let me put you on a stronger antibiotic. I said, okay, boy, I must be getting old. I need 2 antibiotics. So they put me on that when it started to ease off, and then it came roaring back. And then I was kind of like, I went to the doctor the 3rd time, and you know what he told me? He said, try some apple cider vinegar. Just drop it in your ear with warm water. And I'm like, okay, I believe in that, and we need to figure out what's going on. So it stayed persistent. And this past week, I went to the doctor again because Nikki has been telling me for 3 weeks to go to the doctor. And I went to the doctor again, and a different PA saw me, and he looks in there, and he says, what I see is a perfectly normal adult ear. I said, there's no infection? He said, no, there's no infection. And so he is sending me to an ENT. We're going to try to figure it out. But in the meantime, this past week, I can't get into the ENT for 2 months. So I'm going to be hanging with this for a little while. But in the meantime, this week, as I was working on this, I said, Deb, have you stopped to listen to your body? What is your body trying to tell you? That's the wisdom you have right now. What is your body trying to tell you? We'll activate the doctor's wisdom when we get to see him or her, when that happens. But what is your body trying to tell you? Right? What kind of referred pain might you be dealing with right now? What kind of referred reality might you be dealing with right now? What is the pain in your life? Maybe not in your body. Maybe in your spirit. Maybe in your heart, right? Maybe in your relationships. What is that trying to tell you? What is the message that is coming to you from that body compass? Stop and listen. One of the ways that we can use that body compass is by engaging in repetitive activity. Any athlete will tell you that if you stand out there, if you were a basketball player and you stood out there and you were practicing your free throws and you just kept going 2, 3, 28, 46, 52, you get into a rhythm and you get into a space. Musicians can tell you this. Anybody who does something that's a repetitive behavior, people who work in factories can tell you this. I can get into a zone where I have mollified my body and my ego by giving it something to do, but I don't really have to be that present with it. I can now, my spirit can come alive. Have you ever had that happen? I've had it happen gardening. I've had it happen with different things where I'm doing a repetitive activity and suddenly I'm able to listen to my intuition. Another way to use experience as a guide is to engage our 5 senses in order to activate that 6th sense, right? They say that the sense most tied to emotion, anybody know the sense most tied to emotion? Smell. That's exactly right. Smell is most tied to it. You can smell something. Let me tell you something. I can still smell something from 30 years ago, and it's like, what the smell of my grandmother cooking something, or the perfume she wore, and it immediately takes me back. What are those senses telling us? What am I hearing? What am I seeing? Because we know already that we see what we want to see, and we hear what we want to hear. I tell my students all the time, if I introduce them to a new concept or a new word or a new idea, and I say, okay, now that I've told you that, you're going to see it 2 or 3 times over the next 2 weeks. You're going to be amazed at how this concept was around you all the time, but you never saw it until it was pointed out to you, right? And in the same kind of way, what it is we're choosing to see and smell and hear and experience and touch, that is a way in to our intuitive understanding and our intuitive wisdom. Feel more, think less. Everything you look up about intuition tells you this. Feel more, think less. And when I think about what happens when I manage to turn off my mind a little bit and think less about things and feel more, almost always I get joy. Almost always I get joy. And the more that I've learned to do this, because it's a little bit hard for us academic types, we spend a lot of time in our life pursuing that mind wisdom. And then we work in the mind wisdom, and then we have to figure out how to quiet it down so that we can feel things. And the more I feel, the more I am in joy. So we are removing the layers of ego. We are using our experience as a doorway. And the third step is to make connections. This is really, really, this is my area of expertise. Don't try this at home. No, really. As a literature professor, 90% of what I do is teach students how to make connections. That's it. That's my whole job. How do we see the connective tissue in this story? How do we then connect it to our own experience or the experience of the larger world around us? How do we see how these things can become informers of our world for us? Right? So one of the ways is to look for oracles in our life, whether that is to consult a tarot or consult an oracle deck or astrology or numerology or engage in some kind of ritual or honor the full moon or anything of that you choose to do. Some kind of oracle. There were people, by the way, who used to, this started with the Bible and with Shakespeare years ago, and there's a word for it, and I'm not going to be able to pull it up right now, but I'll think of it later. There's a word for this where people will just flip open a text and they'll let their finger land. People used to do that with the Bible all the time. Let me just flip it open. Oh, that's my message for the day. That's my oracle for the day. So one of the ways in which we can make connections is to allow these kinds of messages to alert us, right? They're not any more magical than life is magical. What they are is pay attention. Here's something that you might want to be aware of. Alert yourself to this possibility. So one way we can make connection is to seek out those ways, those pathways to connection. Another way is through our memories. There's a reason why I think I'm wiser now than I was when I was 20. Part of that is because I'm much more prone now to say, I don't know. I have no idea. When I was 20, I knew everything. If we could just channel my 20-year-old self here, she would have all of your answers that you would need. But there's something about that aging process that brings us gifts. It brings us the gift of wisdom and the gift of understanding our intuition and honoring those intuitive messages that we get. There's a reason why people start to get a little bit, there's wisdom that comes with age. That is a type of wisdom. In the United States, we don't honor that very well. In other nations, they honor it beautifully. We have a tendency to hide it away rather than to honor what it can bring us. But when I think about, there are times now when I can think back on an experience that I had when I was 20 or 15 or 5, and suddenly its message comes to me. Suddenly I see the connection to something that I'm experiencing now. I understand now why I act in a certain way because of that experience when I was 7. Right? And I can learn, I can continue to learn from my past for my entire life. So when I make connections between my past and my present, I can then possibly even connect to something beautiful in my future. Another way that we can make connection is through our dreams. Do any of you just know what your dreams mean when you wake up? Anybody? You just know what they mean. Sometimes. I have a tendency to do that. Like, I'll wake up and I go, oh, I clearly see. Now, I'm a trained literary analyst, and dreams are the literature of our minds. And so when you think about that, when you wake up, you're like, okay, what were the symbols? What do they tend to mean? How am I putting those together? Right? Those dreams are our subconscious talking to us. Our intuition is our higher self whispering, our soul whispering to our heart, and hoping that it will listen, right? So those dreams are, we are still, most of us, unless we have restless leg syndrome, most of us are still when we're sleeping. And that intuitive part of us can speak to us. There's another, and this is the most divine way that I can make connections in my life with my intuition, is through billboards. I have like this magical woo-woo juju thing going on with billboards. I cannot tell you how many times in my life I've gotten the message that I needed from a billboard. I don't know why. I think billboards are the oracle cards of advertising. If I passed a billboard like this that said, today is the day, I could very likely take that as a message. If I need to know that today is the day, I'm going to see that billboard and get chills down me. If I don't need to know that today is the day, there's a chance I might not even read it, might not even see it. I wouldn't have paid any attention to it. Would have just slid on by. The point there is, of course, that these intuitive messages and these connections of this interwoven, interconnected world that is oneness, it's sending us messages through everything. Every single thing is sending us messages, giving us constant feedback to our intuitive self that helps us tap into the wisdom of the universe. So when we go back to the statement of mind that I created and I showed you earlier, a healthy intuition exists when layers of ego are removed to allow the higher self to directly guide our way. I let myself kind of intuitively feel into that when I was working on this talk, not preparing too much because I was going to be intuitive. And as I was working through the talk, it began to morph for me. And I felt it just slightly different. A healthy intuition is the higher self, directly guiding our way as the layers of ego are removed. I just recreated that sentence. One of the little clues to good writing is put the important stuff first. Right? The important stuff is not the layers of ego. The important stuff is the healthy intuition that is our higher self. That doesn't have to be something elusive that we're constantly working for, trying to grab. Instead, it is there as the core of us, and we can have a very intimate relationship with our own intuition. It is the filter. It is not the guide. It is a guide to our spiritual understanding, but it is probably the most important. It is the one that if we aren't engaged in the activity of honing our intuition, then what are we doing as spiritual beings? Right? I really see that as the cornerstone of the entire spiritual evolution, the entire spiritual transformation. You want to transform spiritually, something's not working for you, you need to shift it. Let me tap into my intuition. Let me remove the layers of ego. Let me get in touch with my own experience and let me make connections until I begin to understand myself and see myself and my entire experience in a completely fresh and new way. Namaste.
Thank you, Deb. Well, this is the point of the service where I intuitively feel that it is easiest for us to slip into that feeling and that vibration of gratitude. We are open, we have been receiving, and it's so easy for us to go to that grateful place, whether it's to be grateful for the physical things that we've received in our life or for the spiritual community that we have. And the opportunity to support it. So let's be grateful for that and take a look at the ways to give. PayPal, red bucket right there in the back for your paper stuff. We have automatic bank draft. And you can always sign up for Amazon Smile and Kroger Rewards card. I've done that for both, and we'll take all we can get, right? We'll take it, yeah. And let's say our affirmative offering affirmation together. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I choose to give and all. And let's sing about that gratitude that we have. I am grateful for another day of living, grateful for a new chance to forgive. I'm grateful to receive life's many blessings. all stand and say the prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Life is good, and we are truly blessed. All is well, life is good. We are truly blessed. All is well, life is good. We are truly blessed. All is well, life is good. We are truly blessed. All is well, life is good. We are truly blessed. All is well, life is good. We are truly blessed. All is well, life is good. We are truly blessed. We are truly blessed. We are truly blessed. All right, thank you for everyone. We'll see you next week and have a great week.